So without further ado or bandying about, let me go ahead and jump into this video. Although, stick around till the very end because I'm going to do a brief little segment talking about why this in particular is the video you're seeing, instead of the one that I planned on uploading. But today, I want to touch on the Nevada Senate race. Now, in my last video in the 2018 midterm election series, I had mentioned that there were two possibilities where the Democrats had some chance of taking a seat from the Republicans in the Senate. Unless you want to believe the very, very optimistic article that somebody wrote in Vox, wherein they counted 6 possible seats that Dems could win from Republicans, but even in their own article they kind of admit that it's bullshit. But in my last video, I explained why for a little while it looked like Arizona may be a chance for the Dems to win a seat in the Senate, and why I don't feel that that's the case anymore. However, Nevada is a different story. Now, if the Dems are going to win a seat in the Senate from the Republicans in the 2018 midterm elections, it's going to be Nevada. I'm going to do this a little bit different. First, I'm going to name the two candidates, and then I'm going to go down a little bit of a comparison between the two. So first off, we have Senator Dean Heller, the current incumbent senator running for re-election. And then his opponent, the Democratic candidate, Representative Jacky Rosen, who is the 3rd District Nevada Congresswoman, and it is her first term in the House. And according to what I read, I don't know how this, I guess that she would have been sworn in 2017, I guess is how it worked out, but either way, she has about a little over 1 year of serious national political experience. And that's the first bullet I want to cover, and one of Heller's major advantages. Because unlike a lot of the congressional races that I talked about that I feel are Democrats to win and the Republican candidate kind of needs to come in and steal those races, this is the opposite. This race was Dean Heller's to win. He is the incumbent candidate. But Jacky Rosen has done a great job so far in leading her campaign to strike at what I feel are Dean Heller's weaknesses. But from the baseline, aside from the fact that Dean Heller is the incumbent, which usually gives a candidate a pretty big advantage, there is a second major advantage, that being their political experience. Even some people that I have found speaking or writing in support of Jacky Rosen are a bit leery of her lack of political experience when compared to Senator Heller. Furthermore, she is fighting an uphill battle for name recognition. There were a lot of people that mentioned, and it's kind of a big deal, she does not have statewide name recognition nearly to the degree that Senator Heller does, and that is a big problem for a candidate. Nevertheless, though, despite this apparent huge advantage for Senator Heller, I found 3 recent polls, 2 of which put Senator Heller ahead, one 41-40 and one 40-39, and one of which puts Representative Rosen ahead 45-41. I'm not exactly sure why that one poll, which was by Gravis, is so different from the other two, and so I kind of view it as an outlier, but either way you look at it, I think that you can call this just about a neck-and-neck race so far. But why is that? Like I said, Representative Rosen, the Democratic candidate, she has very little national political experience, weak name recognition, and she's running against a more experienced better known incumbent senator. How is it that she is hanging in so well in a state where, by the way, 49% of people polled had a favorable opinion of Donald Trump, which is a pretty damn good indicator that it should be a fairly strong state for Republicans. Although a favorability rating is a little bit different than an approval rating. But still, I mean, 49% for a president in modern day, as I've discussed in the past, is pretty good. But why is it that Senator Heller is not way out ahead? Well, here's the thing. He has a very high personal disapproval rating. People who actively disapprove of him. This is not people who do not approve of him. This is people who voted or stated in a poll. You can state that you either approve of a politician, neither, or you disapprove. 42% of people said that they disapproved of Senator Heller. And the biggest reason seems to be that Senator Heller has gotten branded with one of the worst titles that a politician can be branded in these super partisan times. That being, Senator Heller has been labeled as a flip-flopper. Most notably where he flip-flopped in the 2017 healthcare debate in what apparently seems to be a ploy to gain more bipartisan support or look more neutral or more favorable to left-leaning voters. But in the end, a lot of people now view him as being flaky. His platform seems weak. He is not strong amongst Republicans, nor did he gain a lot of support from Democratic swing voters as a result of these actions. And to be totally honest with you, I don't see him as having been able to recover from this very well in his campaign. I went extensively through both of these candidates' campaigns, and they both kind of share this problem. But let me talk about Senator Heller first, because he needs to have a strong platform, as right now his go-to title is flip-flopper, weak platform man. But his campaign is so weak on every issue. If you go to his campaign page, it is essentially just, don't vote for Representative Rosen because she doesn't have a lot of experience, and because she herself has not done anything to help with the healthcare issue here in the United States. That is something that is on the front page of his own campaign page, which I think is a terrible decision on his part, because it just draws attention to his major weakness. If I were him, especially where it comes to talking about my opponent, I would not say a peep about healthcare, because you already have egg in your face where that comes on both sides, whether people are pro or anti Affordable Healthcare Act. Nobody is particularly behind Senator Heller because he doesn't seem to have a solid position, and he seems to be able to he seems to be okay with just taking whatever side he thinks is going to get him voted into office, and that's a problem. That is very much the Hillary Clinton problem, and it is not a problem that you want to have. Now, on the converse to that, Representative Rosen, in her campaign, seems to have done a very good job picking at this wound. She seems to have put out some pretty effective ads pointing out the issue of Senator Heller's flip-flop and his weak stance on healthcare. Here's the problem, though. And she has one other problem that I'm going to touch on after this, but she also shares Senator Heller's weak platform. I cannot, for the life of me, really nail down what she stands for. Only what she stands against, that being Dean Heller. And even her position on healthcare is pretty damn weak. I can find a lot of examples of her speaking out and complaining, griping, having various issues and nitpicks on the Affordable Care Act, and at the same time, a lot of statements wherein she says, we have to keep the Affordable Care Act, otherwise people will be persecuted for battling cancer. Pretty much a direct quote. She said something to the effect of, if we don't defend the current law, we will go back to a system where insurance companies can persecute people or be prejudiced to people for any reason, including because they're battling cancer. Go look at her Twitter. It's a pretty recent tweet. You'll see what I'm talking about. But again, she doesn't offer a solution. She doesn't offer an idea of her own. Only dismissals of other people's ideas, which is very much the same problem that Senator Heller himself has. And I think that's why she hasn't been able to fully capitalize on the weakness of the incumbent candidate. I think that's why they're neck and neck, with him having a slight edge in a lot of the polls, when really, as weak as he is, he should be easy pickings. That, of course, combined with her lack of experience that scares a lot of people off, and, as I said, her weak name recognition, but also one other thing. That being that there are as many as 4 third-party candidates entering this race, with most polls showing only about 80 to 85% of the vote currently going to one of the 2 main candidates. Now here's why I specifically point this out as a weakness of Representative Rosen and her situation. A lot of the demographics, I just did a video talking about demographics, you should know all about this. A lot of the demographics where Senator Heller is the weakest, young people, women, minorities, these should be the bread and butter demographics of Representative Rosen. But 2 of those 3 demographics are also demographics that are pretty much the most likely to go to third-party or independent candidates, that being young people and minorities. With the exception of races wherein we see a strong libertarian candidate or a strong libertarian presence, which can be harmful to a Republican candidate, for the most part, when you have a large number of third-party or independent candidates, or a large number, or one particularly strong third-party or independent candidate with a high percentage of the vote, it tends to be bad news for a Democrat, especially wherein that Democrat is an outsider or an inexperienced political figure. Because a lot of that outsider vote, that uprising vote, that liberal, anti-establishment vote, which is distinctly different than the conservative anti-establishment Trump vote. It's 2 completely different things. That tends to kind of bleed towards those independent and third-party candidates. And I personally believe that is another part of the problem that Representative Rosen has in kind of securing her advantage against the, in my opinion, incredibly weak incumbent Senator Dean Heller. Now, it's been tradition thus far that in these midterm election series videos, I've kind of weighed in with my opinions on what the probability is for each outcome. However, in this particular case, I honestly happen to think we pretty much have a coin toss. I'm gonna say, as of right now, Dean Heller has a 51% chance of winning this race. As in, honestly, it's kind of 50-50, but if you were to put a gun to my head and make me guess, I would go with the incumbent candidate here. And the main reason is Representative Rosen's lack of name recognition. I think that is the biggest obstacle that she faces. Now, I still think that this race could be turned around by either candidate if either one of them could come up with a significant answer to their weak platforms. If either one of them could find an issue to really latch on to, come up with some sort of viable position or solution for, and then really campaign around, I think that they could turn this election around and really take off and take a lead. If that doesn't happen, and we're kind of running short on time at this point, I see this coming all the way down to the wire, and being one of those races where almost all the votes are counted by the time that we declare an actual winner. Another huge advantage could come in the form of Jacky Rosen, for Jacky Rosen, I should say, if somehow 2 or even better 3 of those third-party or independent candidates were to drop out of the race before election night. And I think there is the possibility that Senator Heller could get a boon. I think it would be a much smaller advantage, but it could give him the edge he needs if the Trump administration were to turn their attention to him and kind of speak up for him. Because while ordinarily I don't think associating strongly with Trump is a good idea for a Republican candidate in 2018, I think this would be an exception, because I think it would get Dean Heller the support he needs from his own side to kind of get over that image of being a flip-flopper and being weak on healthcare. So that's how I take it. That's my personal opinion. Again, I'm calling 51% chance the incumbent retains here, but this is a very, very, very close situation. Next time we're going to take a look at where I think that the Republicans might win a Senate seat. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see that video. And I'll see you in the next one. So look, real quick, for those of you who are interested, the reason that I put up a midterm election video tonight instead of a story video, as I had originally intended and mentioned in the past, and I'll probably still put one up tomorrow, but it'll have to be something different. I thought it would be a good idea to make a particular video, and without going too much into it, there was one particular instance in my life where I honestly fell in love, and it was just like in a fairy tale or a movie, that kind of really in love with a girl. And the story that I was telling was directly related to that. I didn't think it would be a big deal for me until I started to actually verbalize it and put words to it. And it affected me a lot more than I thought it would, and I just didn't think it was a good look for something that I really wanted to put up on YouTube. So I decided to film a different video, and one that I had already done the research for and was already pretty much ready to go, and put that up instead, to buy me some time to pick a different story video. So there you go, there's your reason. Sorry about that. I'll see you guys around. Peace.